on this episode of Edge of the Web.
It ends up that if you want to truly have a site that is very fast and does what you want to do, you have to get a little bit dirty. And that means either you code it yourself, or if you don't, you need to find somebody who understands what needs to be done.
Your weekly digital marketing trends with industry trend-setting guests. You're listening and watching Edge of the Web. Winners of Best Podcast from the Content Marketing Institute for 2017. Hear and see more at edgeofthewebradio.com. Now, alongside Tom Broadbeck, here's your host, Aaron Sparks.
Well, like I said, welcome back to The Edge. Hey, we're broadcasting from Edge Media Studios located in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. Every week we bring you the latest marketing news from the digital side of things, as well as marketing influencers from around the planet. If you haven't come across Edge of the Web before, welcome on, and it's happy to have you. It's our 8th year running this show, 7th year. And we are certainly appreciative of our audience. We're bringing you some great information around the world, basically, regarding digital marketing tactics and what to do with them. Check out all of our recent shows over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. We're actually powered by Site Strategics, the title sponsor of the show, and it's our company. It's the Agile Digital Marketing Strategy firm here in Indianapolis, Indiana. If you're interested in what Agile marketing means, just give us a shout. You can call us at 877-SEO for web or 877-736-4932, or just go over to sitestrategics.com, SITE strategics.com, and just, hey, jump online. You can chat with us. You can also just give us a quick connection, and we'll have a nice chat, either Skype or Zoom or what have you, to be able to talk about your online success. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks. I'm the CEO of Site Strategics, and the reason that we do this show is twofold, and we talk about every show, is to make sure that we kind of break apart and demystify some of the digital marketing tactics that are out there. There's so many different channels of digital marketing inside social, inside of search engine optimization, search engine marketing, conversion rate optimization, video marketing, email marketing, all the different spaces in which the new media audience is available. You want to be able to see how you can communicate and how you can engage with that audience. And we do that as well because we want to educate ourselves. And this has been a discipline each and every week to make sure that we know what's going on in the digital marketing world, that we can keep our powder dry and do the best for our own clients. So that's who we are. And the booth today is Tom Broadbeck. He's the Director of Digital Media.
Mike's muted. Hello.
How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good. And so you jump back in the fishbowl, huh?
Hey, sometimes you got to roll with punches and get back behind here and make mistakes. So we're doing good.
No worries. I wasn't even going to call attention to that.
That's all right. You got to call out your own mistakes.
Well, hey, somebody who doesn't make mistakes, I'm sure he'll probably correct me. Hey, we've got our guest, Jon, on the line. Jon, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, and I make lots of mistakes.
Everybody, Jon Henshaw is here, and boy, he's got a history, and we want to deep dive into that. So you're hearkening from Nashville, Tennessee. How's the weather there today?
The weather is cold for here. It was 20 degrees this morning. I consider that to be cold.
It was, man. It snapped real quick, didn't it?
Yeah, it was 70 the day before and 20, and I felt like I was back in Denver. That's what Denver does. Denver will make you sick from its shifts in weather patterns. But yeah,
I think Tennessee and Indiana share a lot of those same weather patterns. And all of a sudden, all the parents driving their kids to school tripled today as I was in line. And it's just like, oh, come on. Little Timmy is brave enough. He can
survive, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, we're going to be talking to Mr. Henshaw about a number of things. He's with Coywolf, and we want to unpack that and see what he's doing in that space. But first and foremost, every show we lead with some news of the day. So, Jon, you ready to tackle the digital marketing front with me?
Let's tackle it.
All right.
Let's just make stuff up.
We could do that.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so let's take you through the latest digital marketing news.
I was very excited to start my reportings.
This week's trending topics.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, we could actually start off with a headline and make up the entire subject and see how long people catch on, right?
That's what we do.
Could be a
People just
test.
don't know it. We do it
Could be
every
a
show.
test of the audience.
We don't do fake news here. Come on. All right. So from The Verge, Google's plan to take on Alexa. They've got new features, new devices, and a Trojan horse. Tom, what's going on here?
Yeah, so the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, is going on this week, and Google generally makes a lot of big announcements, and they made several here, so I'll scroll down to the list. There's a nice new gadget there, but yeah, so they have integration with Dish Hopper now. Google Assistant's coming to Sonos speakers, which would be nice. KitchenAid Smart Display, whatever that means. So if you need, I guess you put your recipes on it or something.
Yep.
Samsung TV integration, better integration with Philips Hue lights.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Very good.
There's a cool little product that I was looking at with, I think it's Anchor. You plug into your cigarette lighter and it gives you Google Assistant into your car. It'll connect via Bluetooth, and you just plug it into your cigarette lighter or your vehicle. Some new features within Google Assistant. With the boarding passes, there's an interpreter mode that I watched a video in this Verge article here that kind of showing it out how like a concierge would use it in a hotel. It does a live translation, so the person speaking English will translate it to Chinese or whatever, and then translate it back and forth so they can have the conversation. So they said better auto reply, baking Google Assistant into the Google Maps. That's what they're calling the Trojan horse, which is how they will expand their growth in number of devices. And I think I saw somewhere 500 million devices or something weird, huge number like that.
That they're targeting to
that they expect, what they expect with this integration of Google Assistant into Google Maps. So, a lot of new stuff.
There's a crap ton of stuff in there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think we could do a show now without talking about the smart speakers and the home assistants. And you've got Alexa, you've got Google Assistant, and Alexa just turned on.
Went off. Make sure it's muted.
And on top of that, the woe behind Apple Home or whatever the bloody thing was that they probably even shouldn't have even launched. So we're always talking about it. John, what do you think about the smart speaker revolution and that home centric integration there?
Well, it's funny because I think for a lot of consumers, they look at this and they think, they're just trying to get into the Internet of Things. They're trying to maybe compete against Amazon, maybe compete against Apple. But I don't see that at all. I see something completely different. What I see is a company that lives and breathes off of data, and there's not one thing in there that is a Trojan horse to me. I think the entire thing is a Trojan horse. What they want is they want to get as much data as they can on every single thing, and then try to find a way to monetize that. And it may not simply be, we know you use this so many times, so therefore we can monetize that directly. It may be something a bit more sophisticated. It might be something where they take all the data and they put it into something that does machine learning just on your usage or everybody's usage, and they're able to turn around and do something with that. But one thing I know very well about Google is that it's funny because when I read this and I was looking at all the different things, it's as if Google has this machine that just makes random things, and they just sat there and just went like this, and it cranked out different things and shot them out. Because I can almost guarantee you that half these things won't exist in a couple years.
That's right.
They're literally just throwing crap out to see if it sticks on the wall and if anybody uses it. I mean, you want to talk about throwaway technology? Most of the stuff is throwaway technology.
And just think
we're the test bed.
And just think how much they're actually spending for all those individual departments, and how many man hours and how many staff are actually rolling out those integrations just to be obsolete.
These are experiments from their research and development department, and we are the people they're experimenting on. And we're not even thinking about the privacy implications here and stuff. And it's not that even Apple cares about privacy. They're using that as a marketing ploy. I mean, maybe something in their cultural ethos for Apple is that they actually do care about privacy, but that's a marketing ploy. And for here, this is like, we want to give you everything we could possibly give you. But even it's not that what I was saying earlier, the way Google is, it's not just these products. I mean, they do this across the board with everything that has to do with search and the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, they just throw things out. I know they test plenty of things in private, and it just never goes anywhere. They're, as I say this, it all sounds kind of negative. At the same time, I admire them. I mean, at the same time,
To be able to do that.
it is, yeah. I mean, for somebody who likes to experiment and test things and whatever, it's like I applaud it. But I don't think it's what it appears to be on the surface to most people. I think that it's probably only going to be us and those listening who are in the marketing realm that really see it for what it is, which is they're just trying to figure out more and more ways they can get data points so they can use that in a way that they can monetize it. They're not trying to make your life better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whatever happened to the Google Beacon? Has that been embraced by local marketing?
I think most small business owners don't even know that they can have a Google My Business page.
That's a whole other topic.
No, that's the truth. I think you're right, John, is that, I mean, the consumer, and this is the thing, the consumer doesn't know what they're revealing. They know that they're trying to get they like their life being easier, and oh, wow, that this device can talk to this device, fantastic. They don't know the ramifications and what they're actually doing in the process. They're revealing so much about themselves without a concern in the world.
Right. And they're going to win. They'll still, I mean, not the consumer, Google.
Yeah.
Consumer's definitely not going to win. No, the Google's going to win, and so are the other bigger companies, because the real winner going forward is anything without friction. And so anything that we can provide to the consumer where they feel no friction, they don't have to try, it's so intuitive, they don't even have to even barely learn how to use it. That's what people are going to gravitate towards. We already know that the consumers just don't really care about privacy with Facebook and Twitter and stuff. I mean, they do when it comes up in the news, because now it has their attention, but in general, our attention span is so short that it's like, we don't care anymore, and I'm back on Facebook.
I wonder how many people re-authenticated all their apps with the Facebook integration after everything was purged out of the system and you had to reconnect everything. I wonder what the percentages of the users are. I'd fair to guess about 90% of them reconnected. Oh, I can't get back into this. Connect. Right, I
think that's a really good percentage, actually, because that was a percentage I was kind of in my mind when I was thinking about all the people I've seen over the years, especially recently, who have said, "I'm out of here."
Right.
And I'm sitting there and I'm just laughing at them. Because I'm like, I'll see you in like 3 days because you're pathetic and you can't live without it. And now I'm pathetic too. I never left.
Own it, John. Own it.
Talking about all of us here. What I'm saying is that they're pathetic for saying they're going to do something. I knew they'd be right back there. So
no, it's like crack, man. It's like a drug.
It is. It's
social anxiety, social media anxiety.
It's like most things. There is good and bad, and it's funny because we're in such a weird position as marketers who really think about this and talk about this, because it's super easy for us to be critical, like I am right now. At the same time, I use it.
Yep.
I use it both as a consumer, even knowing these things, and I depend on it when it comes to the ability to market certain stuff. I mean, so. It's a weird, love-hate kind of relationship. It's something that I say we shouldn't do, and we should be able to live without, and yet we can't, especially as marketers. And so, the best we can do is know what we're getting ourselves into, as opposed to going into it blindly.
Yeah, the problem is you have to also you have to swim in those waters just to see what you can effectively utilize as well. You can't be a digital marketer without being there. Unfortunately.
It's true. No, it's true. I mean, even when I've thought about, I need a break from Facebook or whatever, I feel like I can't. I feel like the benefit I get from having a presence there just outweighs my ideals, really.
Boy, that's a tough sentence I just heard there.
Yeah, give me a second. Okay, I'm all right. I'll be all right.
I'm overclimped.
Yeah.
All right. All right. On to
Why? It's okay. Why?
All right. So talking about bad and good, from Engadget, Twitter will now test new conversion features out in the open now. So Twitter is actually launching a new program to let users reshape how conversations on its site look and feel. The company announced just recently here in an interview with Engadget at the CES 2019 show. The idea is for users to try out new organization and context features with their followers, such as the status updates and the icebreaker tweets that we saw were being tested last year, which are designed to encourage people to talk to each other. Twitter is actually set to start testing the program in the coming weeks. While anyone will be able to apply to join, only a few thousand users are actually going to get in. So literally, Twitter is now rolling out its R&D module into its consumers, and just letting everybody kind of mess with it and decide what that next platform is going to look like. Is that what I'm understanding here?
Yeah. So one of the examples they give in the article is that when people are going to conferences, they're changing the name in their Twitter not their Twitter handle, but their name and their Twitter profile to say that they're so and so at the CES conference, for example. So that's the example they gave.
Got it.
And so there's just a new way you can have a status there for your Twitter. So it's just kind of changing the way it kind of looks. I know. Just from scrolling through Facebook, nothing really stands out. It's just depending on what mode you have. It's black text on white font unless there's a picture.
Right.
So I think this will help make it look prettier, maybe, or
maybe a little bit more topical and fluid for
a little easier to understand. I know looking at some threads, it can be kind of confusing of who's talking to who, and I've been caught in I tweeted Ryan Johnson of the director of The Last Jedi, and he tweeted me back, and so then everybody started arguing about the last Star Wars movie and whether it was good or not. I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. I just made a funny joke, and it was tough to know who was who. And I was like, just get me out of this conversation. And so hopefully the things like that can improve and that as well.
All right, well, John, what do you think about the tool set that Twitter's giving everybody now, or at least the select 1,000?
It's interesting because the status part kind of reminds me of Slack a little bit. Slack lets you kind of say, I'm on a plane, or who knows what. You can say whatever you want, actually.
Yeah.
I like that status. That's fascinating. I thought I also read in that article about how they were trying to kind of craft how you see conversations. They were trying, a lot of this is not just about status, but it's about being able to engage with other people more.
Yep.
And so, the general kind of idea I took from this was they're just trying to increase engagement. They're trying to do it in a way that will hopefully be positive, as opposed to a lot of the negative stuff that's on there, and give you a little more control over the conversations you have and how that looks. So they didn't have any screenshots in the article of this, but what I picked up from it was it would be almost a focused conversation. So that it wasn't still just a big stream that's going on, or a lot of people jumping in. But they're doing this for themselves. I mean, this is all about
right.
I would be doing it if I were them. It's all about how can we have more positive and better engaging conversations on here, so people use the system more, so that we can serve more ads. I mean, I don't mean to.
Why not
with that? But that's what it's still all about.
But why not crowdsource new functionality from a bunch of loyalists that are really going to invest their time and create something better for, and not even pay them for that, by the way, right?
Well, and that's a really interesting point. It is interesting that they're doing this in what we'll call a transparent way. I mean, it is pretty rare that you would announce and pick and allow people to even talk about it. I mean, that's kind of bold, I guess. I mean, especially for such a big player who is generally fairly controlling on how they do stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Down to their API, and shutting out apps, third-party apps. So
you better believe it.
Yeah. Again, it's so many tangents. It's like when you bring this stuff up, I'm like, and that, and
that.
this,
Just kind of like Google. There's this.
This is why this is going to be an 8-hour broadcast. I mean, I'm prepared.
Well,
I'm ready.
we've set aside we booked a studio for a long haul. We knew where we were going when we got you on the show.
It would be non-sequiturs.
Your squirrel will chase my squirrel down the field of data stories. Now, hey, check this out. Talk about squirrel. Marketing land. Okay, I honestly really do love this micro platform. So Quora advertisers can now retarget users who looked at specific questions. That's money, baby. Now check this out. Now this is over at Marketing Land. So Quora advertisers can actually retarget when they've actually visited specific question pages. The question and answer platform actually announced Tuesday. So Aline Lee said that user questions can now provide a valuable signal of intent. You better believe it. For example, if a Quora user is reading questions about how to buy the best marketing automation software, it's likely that they are in the market to buy marketing automation software. That's a bit of a pretty common sense point there, right? But to get started, select question targeting as your targeting type in the Quora Ads Manager, then choose Show Ads to users who have previously read about a question as a targeting subtype. So, and if you're not familiar with the interface inside of Quora, I mean they're still building it right now, and they've jumped in and if you're not familiar with Quora, it's a very tight knit environment of tight knit platform of users that contribute into. I don't want to say wiki, but it's there's certain questions and people can actually throw up particular answers, and it's a very engaging space of users, and only recently has the ad engine been put in place where advertisers and marketers can actually use that platform to be able to get in front of those dedicated, interested consumers that are inquiring. And on top of that, now you can actually reach even further to individuals that have actually read about those questions before. I love this concept. What do you think, John?
I do too. I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's an obvious thing. It's so obvious and so brilliant that it's one of those things where when somebody said we should do this, everybody's like, why haven't we done this yet? I mean, that's how like obvious that is as far from an advertising perspective. And I know as a previous owner of a SaaS, Raven, that I would have loved to have used this. And I can tell you, I don't know what the stats are as of the last several years, whatever, but I know that for several years, Quora was a great driver of conversions for us. I mean, not only is it from an organic standpoint, people just going there without actually advertising, a great place to have literally other people answer questions. And when they mention your software in a natural way, that's a great conversion driver. Well, I would imagine, you just leverage that even further by being able to target somebody. And of course I would want to target somebody who was searching for a thing and or looking at my competitors' software and then be like, hey, what do you think about this? This thing, think about the idea that if you can target based on even just a single area, popular area.
Keep on going.
Then you can actually serve them an ad with the language and the imagery that almost exactly matches the intent of that question there that they were, looking at.
That's right. And
that's brilliant.
It really is. To go one more step further is that if you can hit a couple different questions and then you're starting to see, you're deconstructing what the interest and the
true intent.
Exactly. And at that point in time, a heck of a lot more ways to market, not only in that space, but all the content to write. I mean, literally, this could be an incredible research module of just seeing how the connection of these different questions work within this loyal user base. And, some of the stuff that you were marketing on that didn't have that same user visit that, it's like voting off the island. No, that question has no relevancy to this particular topic. And then you can pull all that back and just build content until the cows come home.
So where and how do I invest in Quora?
I'm saying, oh my gosh.
Because I think they're going to make some money off of this.
Yeah, I really do. I think so as well.
No. Yeah, past guest JD Prater has recently joined the team. And so I assume with his mindset and the SEO PPC background, it's really driving a lot of these decisions there with Quora.
I think that's great. The
I didn't know
super
that.
smart move.
Wow. No, it's very, very cool.
He joined there like a month ago, maybe 2 months, just for the holidays.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Wow, we got to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
All right. You know what's another super smart move? It's actually joining our Edge newsletter. Each and every week, we're sending out great content, especially, just like this interview right here, as well as who we've talked to in the past, as well as these news articles that we're talking about right here. So if you want to have that right in your inbox, you can refer to it and check out this Quora listing, right? Just sign up for the newsletter over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's right at the top of the page, and we'll not use your email for anything else but sending some digital nuggets of gold. You can also text to the number 22828. You can see it on the screen right there. Text the word Edge Talk, and you can sign up right then and there. So there was a gratuitous plug there, John. You got to excuse me.
Well, and I saw you were so excited about it that you knocked your mic.
I did, yeah. I was.
That's genuine excitement about
that's passion. That's passion. Or I
think that deserves a sign up.
If you want me to destroy the studio, then come on and sign up on a regular basis. All right, so follow all the featured trending topics over at edgeofthewebradio.com. But now let's deep dive with this week's featured guest.
Now it's time for Edge of the Web featured interview with Jon Henshaw, the founder of Koi Wolf.
All right, so John, you had the deep voice guy introduce you. How about that?
That's easily, hands down, out of my entire life, the coolest intro I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's like it came out in the light. It was rotating. That was pretty cool. And I had the deep voice.
And he had the deep voice. I mean, that right there. I mean, we want to make every one of our guests just feel stunning. Do you feel stunning?
Stunned.
All right. Well, let's stun our audience here. I want to introduce John to you. Jon Henshaw has actually been involved with website development and internet strategy since 1995. Yes, there was the internet in 1995, and some of us were around then.
Barely. It was really slow.
It was. I can actually tell you what the tones of a modem are. I can tell you the 56K. I can tell you the 14. I can also tell you the 2400 baud sounds. Is that pathetic or is that pathetic?
It's a horrible sound. I mean, that's like out of a horror movie. It's the worst.
He's actually worked with Visa for a year and co-founded Raven Tools, which was bought in 2017. Congratulations. And since then, he has joined CBS Interactive as their senior SEO analyst. Jon Henshaw is also founder of Koi Wolf, a new community for digital marketers, and is the host of the Koi Wolf podcast. Hence the beautiful background sound absorption and mic over there. You got to check this out. If you're listening to the podcast, go check out the video because this is probably the most professionally oriented guest that we've had here. It's great to be able to have quality mics on that side of the fence.
Very professional. I'm the most professional guest you've ever had.
Well, at least in this particular segment.
Oh, you mean just with the panels? Yeah, the panels are.
So, John, that's the bio. That's the background. Give us your history. How'd you get into digital marketing?
Wow. I stumbled upon it just because my background is really in psychology and human behavior. And so I started a site that was called Family Resource.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like to write about it. And then that sort of got me into SEO. I was accidentally doing SEO. I was discovering that if you did certain things around accessibility, that actually would help optimize your pages and have them rank. I mean, an example would be alt text for images. That's an accessible type thing. That's not SEO, but anybody in SEO knows it's SEO.
Right.
And so a lot of best practices that were that originated for just this is how you should write HTML, this is how you should make your pages. If you adhere to them, you're halfway to where you need to be from an SEO perspective. So I kind of stumbled upon it, and then as far as the internet goes in general, because it didn't exist, when I was growing up, it just absolutely fascinated me. I mean, just the idea of the ability to communicate with anybody in the world at any time. The fact that I could write something and put it on a server, and somebody in Australia who had internet access could be able to read that to this day in 2019 is still amazing to me. And so I just kind of fell in love with what the internet could do, what I could do with the internet. And then, as you try to do more things, you just naturally, you in a way become a marketer. I mean, you test new things and you discover, if I do something this way, it actually performs better in a search result. And I would say that, while I would say I am in general a digital marketer, my first love is still my main love, which is SEO. I love being able to keep up with how Google changes over time, and find new ways to stay competitive and stay on that first page.
Here. Now, you date so far back. You can certainly remember this, is that literally when we were making changes, it would take potentially 6 months to be able to see a response from Google.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's definitely crazy history with since Google existed, and all the things that have happened. I mean, I've seen some stuff where, yeah, you would have to wait a really long time. At the same time, there were times, particularly early on, like with that family site, where I got to the point where every time I would post a new article, just a brand new article, it was always number one.
Oh my gosh.
Always number one for all of the short and long tail terms for that, because it was Google at the time was so simplistic in how they did things. So if you just knew some basic rules, if your site had a certain age on it, you had just a certain amount of links and stuff, it was very, very easy to be able to do that. But then you had sort of years when Matt Cutts kind of entered the scene, even before he was even known, and there's a lot of rocky years, at least for SEOs, as even they tried to figure out the best way to fight people who were over manipulating their search engine and stuff. And so there's a lot of collateral damage. And I think that even what you just brought up, which is I have to wait 6 months for something because it's because they didn't, as far as I know, know what to do about it. I mean, they had a million problems. We are their problem. We were their problems. And I mean, for good and bad. I mean, I was never like a hardcore spammer or anything, but still, I mean, it's definitely, SEO is about opportunity and trying to do something so that when you have 500 million results, you're number 1, 2, or 3. I mean, you're looking to understand them well enough that and better enough than your competitor, so you can get in there. And of course, they have to write what I assume is, at least compared to the past, an extremely intelligent algorithm.
That's right. I mean, and literally, I mean, it's not, you can't understate it enough that they had a huge challenge in front of them to be able to keep it clean. And there was so much exploiting, and I mean, you almost want to call it, is it fair to call it the SEO dark ages?
Well, it's funny because when I started Raven, one of the reasons why I picked the name Raven was because of the Edgar Allan Poe reference. It was Raven, or SEO was still kind of considered this dark art.
Yeah.
and it, anybody who said they're SEO, you really didn't know what they were up to. I mean, they could have been totally above board, whatever, or just spamming the crap out of the internet. And because everybody was doing everything, and they could get away with everything at the time. And so, but that's, I would say, maybe 2016 and on, it's definitely become significantly more difficult to get away with things. And you can still get away with stuff, but you would never want to do that with a brand that you want to keep, with absolutely. A site you want to keep.
No, and you now have almost and we've had conversations in the past, and honestly some deep conversations offline regarding the what Google's doing right now, creating almost like a rap sheet of a domain, that it's no longer just what's happening right now, but it's the wake which you've left for years that can also come back and bite you.
We call that fingerprinting. And when Matt Cutts still worked for Google, before working with the government, doing some amazing stuff, I remember years ago, he had this secret special program on his laptop, and and if he just had kind of a piece of information about you, just anything, he would be able to supposedly map everything out. I mean, and I think they're probably well beyond what they had way back in the day. I mean, it really, I know people globally that do things that I wouldn't do, and they're able to be successful at that. But you have to be extremely careful. And I mean, so careful that it's almost like a hacker who has their burner computer. I mean, you kind of have to really. You only use that computer for this. You only ever access the internet via, this VPN or whatever.
Right.
I don't have time for that kind of stuff.
No.
I mean, in life, I don't have time for that kind of stuff. I would much more prefer to do things above board, and I enjoy, just winning in a normal way.
There you go. Well,
playing by most of the rules, not all of the rules, but most of the rules.
It's more like a guideline than a rule, right? All right. So,
well, I think that's why I'm so interested in technical aspect of SEO, because I think there's so much winning to have.
Yes.
By understanding how Google is approaching things like performance and speed and that type of stuff. And it's funny because there's still a lot of people who just don't believe that is as impactful as it actually is. And I have found through my own testing and experiments and even running the Coil site that it's actually super impactful. It's way more impactful than most people think. I mean, I've been able to achieve rankings for certain things that I do not belong there. Just across the board. If I were still doing agency work or I was consulting, I would even be afraid to even suggest that they would do that and promise that they're going to whatever.
That's
and
funny.
I've been seeing performance gains from this kind of stuff that I never would have predicted.
So, and that gets us into kind of the meat of the interview here. Is we want to talk about a number of techniques for 2019 that are huge, and you're absolutely right. Is that speed is an incredible factor that's happening right now. It has been for a number of years, and hasn't been given its due. And in the space of WordPress now, as the one of the preeminent content management systems, the nature of the framework is all these disparate plugins that have their own resources, they have their own references. So a page can load up 400 different items that usually it used to be you if you had 25 on a page, it was heavy. Now you have this entire quagmire of crap. So before anything else, tell us why speed is so important in today's SEO.
So if you were to have been observing what Google's been doing over the past several years, this is what they're focused on. It's a lot of people, they wait until somebody says, oh, it's going to be a factor or this or whatever. But I've always been successful in SEO by putting myself in the position of Google and seeing where they're going, why they're going there, that type of thing. I think that they're interested in these things for not the reasons why they necessarily say. I mean, in other words, earlier I said, Apple says we care about privacy. I don't know if they care about privacy. I think that.
Well, they put it on a billboard.
Right. But do they really? I don't know. I mean, I think they want to make money. I think that's kind of their main purpose for existing, at least. And so, for Google, when Google says we just want to make the web a better place, I mean, that's pretty easy to jump on and feel good about. But I think that it ends up being, well, actually, we're trying to make money in remote parts of India on slow connections. And you have this content, we want to serve this content, but we can't because it's too slow, and therefore we can't show ads. But if you use our AMP solution, then we'll be able to show it to them because we can control every aspect of the user experience and we can make it super fast. So my point with that is just that there's always an alternative motive with a profit behind it. If there wasn't, it wouldn't be happening.
Sure.
As an end user though, I love it. I mean, as an end user, again, it's that back and forth. I like the idea of having faster sites. I hate the way sites are now. I appreciate what they've done with AMP, because they essentially said if everybody's going to make a crappy, slow site, then we're going to force you to make a good site that provides a good user experience and is fast. So I think that's where all that's coming from. As far as specifically to WordPress,
Mm-hmm.
you talked about everybody puts 40 plugins and that type of thing. I mean, that's the road to the pit of despair. I mean, if you just wanted to blow up your site, which everybody seems to do, then that is certainly a way to do that, and it's certainly a way to make your site slow enough that it's not going to benefit from anything Google might give you for potentially having a fast site.
No, yeah, that's it right there. So whenever you get a brand new site to work on, what do you tackle first? What kind of tools or plugins are you using? And honestly, where should our listeners start? And how do they get a handle on all this?
So I'm like the honest doctor who tells you everything you don't want to hear. Just like, oh, I got to do that if I want to live. I don't know. I mean,
how big are your slider images? I mean, seriously?
Right. And so I actually wrote a really in-depth guide on Coywolf, and it's something I've truly been working on for years and years and years and years. So it's just an accumulation of all the things I've learned and tested. And I'll kind of go through, briefly, just sort of the outline of how I approach it.
Yeah, that's great.
I no longer will use an off-the-shelf theme. I think that's the number one mistake from the get-go I just want to say I'm sorry, theme makers. I mean, there are great themes out there. There are good themes, but if we're talking like truly optimized, fast, take advantage of whatever advantage you could get from Google for having speed, do not start with out of the box theme. And one of the reasons for that is because even some of the very best require, just right out of the box, a bunch of plugins.
Right.
Just before you even have started, they require a bunch of plugins. And one of the reasons for that is because we demand a certain degree of user experience where things slide and they do interesting things and whatever. And so I would say 100% of the time, even in the best themes out there, they're going to be using a large JavaScript library. They're going to be using jQuery. They're going to be using something and that you don't really need for a feature that is completely unnecessary. And so you're out of the box. You've got this JavaScript library and a bunch of plugins. Then what happens is you go, oh, you know what? I really want to add that, and I want to have this, and I want to have that calendar feature. I think I'm going to add some security plugins. It just kind of goes on and on and on. And before you know it, that's how you get to your 20 or 30 or 40 plugins, and you've created this kludge of a site. So even if the theme, maybe bare bones with a couple plugins, was considered fast or considered SEO friendly, it's now this kludge because it doesn't do what you want it to do. So it ends up that if you want to truly have a site that is very fast and does what you want to do, you have to get a little bit dirty. And that means either you code it yourself, or
Right.
if you don't, you need to find somebody who understands what needs to be done. Those people are rare. That's part of the problem. But the thing I recommend is that you start with a bare bones theme. And there are several bare bones themes out there, but it's taken away all the stuff. It's taken away all the dependencies.
Yep.
And it's a functional WordPress site. It uses all the major things that WordPress needs in order to present information, in order for you to be able to edit things, but it doesn't require plugins. It doesn't use a ton of libraries. And so that's the number one thing. If you can't do that, or even if you can do that, then the next thing that I recommend is you look at all the things you're loading. And so I talked about all these JavaScript libraries, and typically there will be a ton of CSS and JavaScript that gets loaded on the front, and you're not even using it. It's not even a vast majority of that code isn't even required to render the just above the fold we call first meaningful paint. It doesn't even get used, but everything has to load before it can even show the page to the user. And so we call that we look at it as render blocking code. We want to find anything that would block that ability, and that's what we would show first, and everything else gets pushed down to the bottom of the page, or what we call async. It ends up being loaded after the fact. So that's sort of a next big step, regardless of whether or not you're using a bare bones theme or you're using something out of the box.
You got to know, as developers, you have to know the timeline of a site, and you have to know that these plugins out there, they have to load up all the scripts to just do something that you are possibly interested in, and that's a heavy weight to load to carry. Especially if you're not even using this is the detriment right here. Especially if you're not even using that plugin. That's the thing, is
right.
that
exactly.
I mean, my God, is that some of this stuff is so heavy, and you've opted not to use that particular function. It's still there, folks, and you've got to clean this stuff out. So you have to use tools to be able to see the performance, the chronology, the load time, the elements that you're loading up. So how do you get a handle on the speed and kind of breaking those things apart so a developer can truly see what's firing? Now, I understand your recommendation, go bare bones to begin with. That's the purest mindset, but there's a lot of people that got some chunky websites out there.
Right. So there's kind of the obvious thing, which is you need to trim. You need to just go in there and say, is there anything that I have that I could actually have coded for me, that I could put into what's called the function PHP file, that wouldn't require this? Because you were dead on as far as what happens is you add all these plugins. They're only used in certain pages or sections of the site, but all the libraries are on every page, or on your home page. They're everywhere because the plugin wants to make sure it's going to work. And a lot of times the plugin maker is lazy, and they only insert it for everything as opposed to only when it's needed. And so I would say that, aside from trimming and controlling and that type of thing, if you literally just can't do any of that, if you are essentially at a place where I need all these things, I have to have all these, then I would actually jump to the very last part of what I wrote up in my guide, which is essentially looking at having a multifaceted caching and content delivery system. If you can't get rid of all the things, then at least deliver them better. And so there are three things that I use. One is just by default, I have a good hosting provider. And there's plenty of good hosting providers out there, but I use WP Engine, and they have a really good caching system. But the other two things that I use that make a significant difference is I use the WP Rocket caching system, which is not free, but is the best, the easiest for everybody to be able to use, and you can see instantaneous improvements based on just the settings they have. They have done a ton of work. It's because it's not free, they maintain it really well, and they keep adding new features. And so I really love WP Rocket. But the other one is the sort of the delivery component, which is I really like Cloudflare. Cloudflare is incredibly powerful in its way to deliver your assets and to optimize and compress things to the end user. An example of that would be one thing I hadn't talked about yet was image optimization. Image optimization is one of the big things that slows sites down. They have the ability to not only convert all your images for you to the optimal image to show for the end user, for the device, but they will even convert your JPEGs and your pings to Google's WebP format, which is even smaller if they think it'll be smaller. And so a lot of times you can see when somebody's using a Cloudflare on a site, if you're in Chrome and you go to save what looks like a ping or a JPEG, and then you go to save it and it actually saves as a WebP, it's because Cloudflare has converted your image and they've made it smaller and faster for delivery. So in the worst case scenario, you can't do anything and you have no developer resources and all that stuff, picking a good hosting provider that has a good caching system I just, again, can't speak highly enough of WP Rocket, and using Cloudflare will take you a long ways to improving your performance.
Yeah, I mean, you've actually kind of mentioned the recipe that we have over here on a regular basis. That's
Okay,
awesome.
good.
Dude.
All right.
I mean, we were huge fans of WP Engine, and Rocket certainly does it, but it also does reveal a couple things whenever you put that into place. It's some of the redundancies of all of these different scripts, and on top of that, all these libraries that
Yeah, that WP Rocket, you can, if you're not careful, you can shut off a slider and not know it.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. And I it's funny you say that, because they do have a lazy load function with that.
Yeah.
And I do a lot with jump links, which is basically putting an ID on a heading so that you can jump to that if you want to, so it's like pound sign and whatever the ID name is, that will jump to that heading. And if you have a bunch of images and things like that, it just completely breaks it. It's not WP Rocket's fault. It's just that's how lazy loading works and jump links. So you gotta be careful.
Yeah, you do have to be careful, but you need to have a handle on what's happening. But what are some quick things that we can see whenever? What are some quick things we can do to see dramatic improvements of a website? So you're telling us to focus on speed. One of the key things is if you're not loading it, if you're not paying attention to the assets that you're loading up there, then my gosh, start there. But I think.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I think probably the best place for anybody, where they should start is, it's less about me going down a list of saying, these are best practice type things, and instead to actually run Google's Lighthouse tool on your site. So there's an extension that is made for Chrome, and Google is keeping this kind of bleeding edge. I mean, they keep updating us all the time, and it's called Lighthouse. And if you run that against your site, it will give you a very comprehensive view of everything, from performance to accessibility to SEO. We don't have time to really get into it today, but they really are going to be pushing progressive web apps this year. And so it checks on where your site is in regards to a PWA, which looks to see, how does your site perform when the network is slow or it's offline. I mean, so, and again, if you just look at tools like that and what they are intensely working on, it can tell you a ton about what you should be doing on your own site in order to be competitive in, the organic results. I mean, if that's what they're focused on and that's what they care about, and they're pouring all of these engineering resources in it, it's probably something you should pay attention to. So I think just running a Lighthouse report is going to give you a roadmap of what you should start worrying about and consider changing on your site.
No, that's a great resource. Absolutely. So now, when is it time to start looking at the host?
It's funny. I just had jokes about going to somebody's house. When is it time? If you can't or have implemented caching systems and things like that, and it still is just slow, everything's just very kludgy, then it might be your hosting provider. I think there's a really simple way of doing that, which is just doing a ping in the terminal and command line, just ping whatever the domain is, and it's going to tell you how many milliseconds it takes for it to come back.
Sure.
And so that might alone tell you that you have a crap hosting provider. I don't believe in putting anything on a cheap hosting provider that I care about. I mean, it's kind of like I have some URL shorteners and some other little things that I put on a cheap shared hosting account. But if your website is your business, it is your storefront. It is literally everything that matters to you if you're doing anything online. And the idea of using a shared cheap hosting provider as opposed to something that costs money and it costs money for a reason, because it's fast, because I'll just use WP Engine as an example again. They have every site that you have with them comes with a a development and staging environment. So you can, the whole thing is to be able to test and play and whatever without ruining your site. It's it evolves around making sure your site is online. It does automatic backups. It's easy to do restores. That's what your hosting provider should provide.
Yeah.
And there are many out there. There are many out there. I maybe have said WP Engine too many times. It's just that's the one I use. But there are many.
The
other
show is actually produced and hosted by WP Engine. Now we're a huge fan of.
Check WP Engine. Right?
We're a huge fan of them as well, and they've certainly evolved their system. Here, I know where you're going with legacy on the staging side of things, because they've actually rolled out a whole nother new realm of staging tools that you can apply for or put in place as well. So what should you be looking for in that web host is being able to have these type of backups. I mean, WP is one of the fastest WordPress hosting solutions on the planet. But what other things should people be looking for?
Well, you'd want to make sure that they play well with some of the other things I talked about. So you want to make sure that they play well with WP Rocket, if that's going to be the caching that you use. You want to make sure that they play well with Cloudflare, because they don't always. And so those to me are pretty big, important components. I don't think that it really makes sense for anybody to just rely on their hosting provider alone. I mean, I think that you really need to have something like Cloudflare that's going to take care of truly delivering everything, because that's just out of experience. I mean, that it just works better. But the backups and restores are super important, especially in a WordPress world. Before I use that hosting provider, I mean, I just use WordPress's Vault Press or whatever. I don't remember what it's called. And you need to be able to have your stuff backed up. You need to be able to press a button and have it restored, because you are going to break it and screw things up, or maybe somebody's going to hack it. I don't know. So those are the things I look for. But speed you won't know until you use them. Speed you won't know until you're able to actually test it in real life, and you'll find out if that's the right hosting provider for you, especially when it comes to WordPress.
And don't be afraid of switching servers either, because I mean, and on top of that, you could also test it on one, set up a staging site on another site to be able to see how that server, the other server, can perform. I mean, we are in the days where speed is critical, not only in the eyes of Google, but in the eyes of the consumer. I mean, we've got less than 2 seconds to load.
There's plenty of research that's out there that basically says, you start dropping users at something like, I don't know what it is, 3 or 4 seconds, maybe whatever. I mean, it's if you don't have it, they're going to bounce back, and you don't really want all of your potential visitors bouncing back all the time, because that will end up hurting you across the board.
You better believe it. So I mean, it should be a huge focus 2019 to clean up these sites, because there's a lot of junk JavaScripts out there. There's a lot of crap on these WordPress sites that are getting in the way. So, this could certainly open up a heck of a longer conversation. And there's a lot of stuff that we want to talk to you about. But unfortunately, I mean, just throwing AMP out there could actually open up a 3-hour conversation. But John, we do want to
trouble.
Yeah, I know. But we do want to ask you, and we certainly appreciate your development of the Raven tools. Site Strategics utilized them, your platform, for a number of years, and it was a fantastic tool set. One of the best reporting tools that we've come across in our long journey. So kudos to you for that, man.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
And you're more than welcome. It's great to be able to see. I mean, we've had so many tools in the past that we know the good ones, we know the bad ones, and I'm glad to be able to see that you were able to benefit from your investment there. Hey, to wrap up here, let me ask you, what bugs you about your industry right now?
Oh boy,
that's another 3-hour conversation.
What bugs me about the industry? I wish there was better information out there. I feel like our industry is pretty lazy. I just, the places where I go to get my news, industry wise, I feel like there's only 5 or 10% of it is really worth reading a lot of times. It's just because of the way things are set up and the way things are made to profit. And at the end of the day, they're really just trying to get people to a conference or something like that. So that's pretty annoying. That was one of the reasons why I started Koi Wolf, was because I wanted to kind of get some deeper and better content out there, things that nobody's writing about, and things that us as digital marketers need to be thinking about. So that bugs me, and that's actually what got me to make that. I also think that the public nature of social networks, especially as it relates to our industry, you either have a lot of fakery or you have a lot of posturing. And by posturing, I mean everybody's defending each other and they're treating each other like crap, because they're doing it in front of everybody. And again, not really to try to make this about Koi Wolf or whatever, but I think that sort of the future is going to be these more private communities where people can they don't have the need to posture and constantly defend themselves, and they can have a respectful conversation. So that's also the type of thing we're trying to do over with Koi with our community. And there's others out there. Traffic Think Tank and other communities are starting to sort of pop up, and they're sort of behind the scenes, and you can learn from each other. Nobody is better than the other person, and you don't have to call each other an a-hole in front of the world. So.
And forgive us, we didn't stop and unpack Koi Wolf for
That's fine.
But if you could you just let us our listeners know what it's all about, so we can absolutely, and we're certainly going to get the links in the show notes, but just give us a couple minutes on that.
Yeah, so Koi Wolf is an actual animal. It's a coyote hybrid with a wolf, and it's about adapting to an ever-changing environment. And to me, that is digital marketing. That is if you pursue Google and other things. And so I love that concept. That's where it came from.
Cool.
And the entire idea of the site is to be able to have a much higher level of basically just information about things that are going on. I mean, everything that it ends up being published or written should be insightful and actionable. You should be able to go do something with that. It should, make you think about something, make you think about the future, make you think about how you might want to change your marketing tactics because maybe they're not working. It's also designed to be able to put you into a community of other really experienced people, so you can bounce off ideas and talk about different things. And then I would say the last part is just I'm a creator. I like to make things, just like I did with Raven, and so I am already making some new things. So I have tools that don't exist or don't exist in the way I think they should, that I would want to use. And so I'm also using Koi Wolf as a way to make new tools, which I'll unveil later this year.
Oh, that's great. That's great. What a fun thing to be able to just go into the shed and build a new SaaS.
I love it. It's the best. I mean, I'll always be an entrepreneur at heart, and a creator, and I absolutely love making things and solving my own problems. And what's nice is when you solve your own problems as a digital marketer, you oftentimes solve the problems of other digital marketers.
Yeah.
Especially when you do it within a community. And that's actually how Raven got started. And so I'm kind of just sort of repeating the things that worked really well, and not repeating the things that didn't work well for Koi Wolf.
Oh, very good. Well, we'll certainly, again, share with our audience the links. You can go to koiwolf.marketing, have that on the screen as well. And I want to make sure that we lift that up, because that's really one of the key important things here out of this conversation. Forgive us for not really diving in deeper on that, because
I had a great time.
I appreciate it.
It's fine.
Hey,
I don't need to spam the thing with me. Like it was Koi Wolf. I had a great time talking with
WP Engine.
Well, no, I know. I was like, now where's my check? I think I know a couple of guys there. I'm gonna be like, hey guys, you need to go look at this, and I want some money.
Yeah, I'm saying. Hey, oddly enough, hey, this is really interesting. Before we jump off here, you got a master's in counseling psychology.
Oh yeah, I used to have a part-time counseling practice in Denver, and it just wasn't for me.
So
I thought I was good at it. It just wasn't for me. I like this. I like what I do.
I do see something here in your horizon. Can you actually start up a counseling group for digital marketers who?
That would be my worst nightmare. That is not what I want in my life. I'll start it. I just won't show up and have anything to do with it.
There you go. All right. Well, hey, Jon, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. We really appreciate the time, and certainly want to lift up Coil Wolf as well as your podcast. Hey, is there anything that we can promote for you today?
So I've been making these cupcakes. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's nothing. It's just Coil Wolf. I mean, I don't know.
All right, Coil Wolf. Well, we'll certainly do that. And good luck at CBS Interactive. Congratulations on the job, and congratulations on Raven. For all of our listeners, you want to track him down on Twitter at Henshaw, and across the socials, Facebook Henshaw, LinkedIn Jon Henshaw, Instagram Insta Henshaw. That's pretty funny.
Insta Henshaw. I used to have my name, and then I was like, again, making fun of myself here. I was like, screw this Instagram. That's stupid. And then they don't want my name back. So I'm like, Insta Henshaw.
Well, any final words for our digital marketing audience today?
Go run Lighthouse. If you do anything today, go find it, install it on Chrome, and run it on your site, and then get some tissues to wipe the tears, and then go do something about it.
Then go do something about it. Fix your sites, people. All right. Well, thanks so much, Jon, for your time today. We really appreciate it. And good luck in everything. We'll certainly follow you from afar. All right. Thanks for listening to Edge of the Web Radio, and a special thank you to all of our colleagues over at Site Strategics, and especially our guest, Jon Henshaw. And be sure to check out all the must-see videos and all the audio over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. We'll be talking to you next week. Tom, who are we going to be talking to
We're
next
talking
week?
some Reddit marketing with Ross Simmons. He was a guest a while back we had to cancel due to some client meetings, and just swinging back around to talk with him now. So Reddit marketing.
He's not going to chew us out, is he?
We'll see. Tune in to find out.
Oh, you'll see it on Reddit. All right. Thanks so much. Hey, everybody, we certainly appreciate all the ratings and reviews that you can give us. That gives us a good deal of uplift in the podcast marketing. So if you could, just let us know how we're doing. Subscribe to the newsletter, and we're always going to be here plugging away and bringing you the best digital marketing tactics. So from all of us over at Site Strategics and The Edge, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you next week. Do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. Bye-bye.